my dear Amy, welcome back to Podcastina.
Do you do outtakes? I was just screaming names of directors.
Oh, I should.
Yeah, because Galina, she's like a director here.
Well, thank you.
We've got cameras, we've got lights,
we've got
an assistant
co-stars.
director. Wow, what an honor to be back on the pod.
I'm so happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Your book.
I have a novel coming out.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so
Thank
proud
you.
of you. You're one of my friends that I brag about.
Oh, that's so nice of you because I'm having a what's the word? A nervous breakdown every day.
Does that have to do with the book or just living?
Life, living, being alive. I don't feel that. I think one of the things about getting anything you want is that it comes with such stress and anxiety. It was my ambition to write a novel, and now all I do is complain about it. So that's kind of interesting. Something to think about. I'm seeing Dr. Barbara tomorrow. Shout out to Dr. Barbara.
What's the deeper life lesson in that you got a thing that you wanted so badly and now you don't know how to sit with it?
Yeah, and I think it's hard when you care so much about something. And I think I find this about stand-up in particular, but writing too. It's like, you know how you're funny when you're loosest? And like when you're loose, you're just having fun. And I think the audience senses that you're having fun. And I think it's the same with writing. When I'm having fun, I feel like the writing's fun. But sometimes you want something to be good so badly that I feel my knuckles like this, like so tightly wound. I feel it on stage sometimes. Like I want to be funny so badly or want to maybe impress like an important booker so badly. And you keep telling yourself like, be loose, be loose. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that makes you less loose than shouting, be loose, be loose?
No, those are my worst sets. And I hate to admit this, but I will. But I'm at the point where I will take a beta blocker if I'm really nervous about something because my nervousness ruins it.
Well, and I tell myself like before I get on stage, like just have fun. And that does help. But with I was like under a contract to write this novel because I had sold it before it was done. And I felt every time I sat down, the tightness of being like, this, be good, write well. And I think this first novel, it was a lot of learning how to battle that and learning how to write a novel. And every draft got a little looser and better. But there has to be, I think, a larger lesson of like, we're here to have fun.
When did you feel like it was done? When did you know?
I never did. They forced me to turn it in. I was like a year late, and they also told me they thought that I would work on it forever, which is like probably true. But
some authors do that.
Yeah,
that's a very author quintessential thing.
I'm at work on a second book, and I'm trying to just write a draft and be happy with it, and then go through the process of doing. Yeah. I'm just trying to be more normal.
But the overthinking is so normal.
I think so.
Let's normalize it right here, right now.
I
with
think
Monty.
so. Yeah. I think there are people I am so jealous of, mostly men, I'm looking into the camera, who are so delusional. Like they're so bad at everything, but they're so confident. And have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yeah, I've talked about it on the show.
Yes, I'm sure you have because you and I would be obsessed with this idea. That the worse you are at something, the better you think you are. And they just move confidently into the world of like, read my writing or like watch my stand-up or watch my acting. And I'm so worried about being bad at the things I know I'm good at. And they move so confidently. And my therapist was like, but do you want to be them? No. And I was like, I kind of do. They look happy.
Here's the trick, I think, with that, or at least how I have leveraged it to feel better about my own stuff and to kind of dig a little trench to put my perfectionism into is that I look at those people and I need them. They exist as an anchor for me because I go, look at this fool doing this. I'll take it back to my very first open mic. I was like 25th or 26th on the list. I didn't know that you had to get to one of these signups early. And I watched the amount of people that I watched bomb, like 24 people bombed before me. Right. And so by the time I went up, all my nerves were gone because I was like, I'm not going to bomb worse than all of these people.
Yeah. That makes sense. When I was writing the novel, I just kept thinking to myself, just write a bad little novel. Who cares? Like you were paid to write a novel. Just write a bad little novel, like trying to take the pressure off. But then of course, once it's done, I'm like, I hope it's not bad. I hope it's good.
Of course it's good, but and you were published before, so it's not like you're new to it.
Yeah, it's what's been tricky for me is I feel like a short story writer, and transitioning into something novel length was hard. But now that I've done it once, what we were talking about before the pod went on is I think I have some kind of like, I don't know, catastrophic thinking, OCD type tendency. I use that word loosely because I know you shouldn't label yourself with something that many people struggle with, but where I always think if something good happens, then something bad has to happen. Like the universe is evening itself out on me.
Brene Brown calls it rehearsing tragedy.
Okay, I always thought it was just called being Jewish. Where like
it's that too, yeah.
Something good happens, something bad. Something good, something bad. Something good. If you're happy and you acknowledge the happiness, something is gonna come like out of the sky and.
That's so real. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Stomp
My mom
you.
calls it. She has an analogy where she's like, "Oh, life is like a zebra, you know, light stripes, dark stripe, light stripe, dark stripe, asshole."
Okay, I love that. Everyone of your audience should know that I've seen your mom naked. We did run into each other at the Korean spa.
You're one of my rare few podcast guests that has seen me naked.
Okay, and I bet the only one who's seen your mom naked.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think another person has seen your mom. And it was fun to kind of chat with everyone in the jacuzzi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love the Korean spa. It's
oh
like,
my God, it's the best. How am I going to live without it next year?
Have you looked? The pod knows you're
The pod knows I'm leaving.
Did you cry to the pod?
Not yet.
The pod. I bet there's in Austin. I
hope so.
There's poker rooms, you know. So I'm gonna come visit.
Totally
you
the
and
same
play
as
poker.
a naked Korean spa.
It's what I like. I'm like, my two hobbies are going to the Korean spa and playing poker.
I'll adjust. I keep still kind of sitting in this idea that I'm going temporarily for just a year.
Are you saying that might not just be an idea?
I'm really hoping that it is just my idea.
Okay.
You know,
we might have to go over there and pry you back if you
might
like
have
it
to
too much.
pull me out of a fucking from underneath some kind of barbecue pork shoulder. I'll just be in a fucking dumpster like, sorry, couldn't make comedy work, but I'm eating all this junk.
People love Austin as a city. I
know, and I like it.
Yeah.
There's things I don't like.
I did this small room of Cap City a few weekends ago. Danny Palumbo came to open for me, a food writer, pork shoulder connoisseur. Shout out to Danny Palumbo. And I was picturing you there, and I was like, she's gonna have a great time. As you know, you've spent a lot of time there, but
yeah,
you've been in LA for so long, and LA has
it's
such
all I know.
I feel like if you live in LA long enough, it's like you know the bad stuff, but you also love all the good stuff. And it's like when anyone talks bad about your parent and you're like, only I'm allowed to talk bad about my parents.
Exactly.
It's like only I'm allowed to insult LA. It's its own sort of strange, I don't know, beast.
Similar to the rehearsing catastrophes.
Mm-hmm.
I have this kind of relationship with LA, similar to that too, where I'm like, don't you talk shit about my city. But then there's things where I've now convinced myself certain things aren't going to happen for me here. Mm-hmm. And because I can't get out of that belief system, it's like I'm manifesting it. Like I decided long before this move, I'm like, you know what? My husband isn't here. I don't think I'm going to find him here. And that was kind of like a thing where now that I believe that, it's like, how do I reset that belief, restructure it?
But I also
can't.
think I admire this thing about you that I think there are many people who, if something is not working for them, they can't imagine a different path out. They're just like, well, that's it. Like, I just keep on. And you have like pulled back and thought, what could I change in my life that might make the outcome different if I'm not happy with the outcomes that I'm having? And I feel like plenty of people don't even go to that
I was
step.
forced to. But I'm also like this woo-woo, the universe sends me
I like
signs
that.
person too.
You calm me when I think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're into like manifestation. Right?
I really am. And Austin has been this thing that's been like calling to me for a couple years. And I've just been like, no, fuck no, over my dead body. I'll never go.
Do you think my constantly, when I realize I'm happy, going, oh no, something bad is going to happen, is that the opposite of am I manifesting bad things? Oh no. So then what do I do when I have the bad thought of like, I've noticed I'm happy and now something bad has to happen?
You acknowledge the bad thought.
Okay.
Because trying to push it down actually
this
makes you ruminate.
For all the audience members.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay.
So
I
the bad
say,
thought, don't
like,
judge
you're
it.
having this kind of panicked thought of you feel good, so soon you're going to feel bad.
Mm-hmm. So you acknowledge that, you give it space, and then you go, this is a false belief. The universe always has my back. And you have to feel it. And
this is a false belief. The universe always has my back.
If it helps to do like EFT tapping, I've gotten really into.
Oh, Blair Saki's into that. Shout out to Blair Saki.
Shout out.
She's got me fucking tapping.
Yeah.
I went to the forest to write, and I let a man with a long gray braid tap me on the forehead. And it didn't do anything. I think it gave me a fucking panic attack. This long gray braided man. And then of course Blair was like, he might not have been certified. Yeah, because he was a guy I met in a crystal shop. Of course he wasn't certified. He was just a weird man in fucking Idlewild.
And this is why I'll always love LA, because of that. But you know what? There's fake EFT tappers in Austin, I'm sure.
Sure. Okay, so I acknowledge, I say, I'm having this thought, but it's a false belief. Fear, false evidence appearing real, right?
Ooh.
You like that?
Oh, I love that.
And the universe always has my back.
Yeah, and the thing is, you have to do it. You have to start doing those mantras in the morning and in the evening. And but hear me out, because
how many times? I need actual like direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy to give them as many times. So neurons that fire together wire together. Have you heard that expression before?
No.
Our brains
say it again.
Our brains are plastic, right? They're always there's plasticity.
You keep saying right as though I'm like thinking about this all the time. Yeah. Okay. My brain.
I guess I am. I guess
you're like your brain is plastic, right? No, my brain is mush.
Your brain has plasticity, which means that repetition teaches us new things. Yes, and you have to repetitively have the idea. You have to repetitively say the mantra, and the neurons that fire together, right? Like you have a bad thought, you redirect it. You keep doing that, you're kind of like making a new groove in your brain.
Okay.
So now those things, those two, the bad thought plus the positive redirect thought, like the corrective thought you have with it, it'll groove together and you'll get in the habit of redirecting with a positive thought until your instinct is just to have the positive thought instead.
Wow. So how many times should I be saying these in the morning?
I mean, I've been doing it for years. Doesn't sound so promising.
The universe has my back
all the time. Okay. I bullshit in I manifest crazy shit all the time.
The universe has my back.
It does.
What about when I feel that I've made a kind of dopey decision, or like I've procrastinated in this way that's got me into trouble, avoided a difficult conversation? Mm-hmm. Can I still say to myself, the universe has my back?
Yeah, because probably you're doing some stuff out of fear because you're scared that it's not going to work out. And instead, why not be like, everything's always working out for me?
Yeah. I do actually say the line to myself, all things in all time.
Yes.
Because I never seem to get, I don't, it takes me a long time to ever get it right, to like get that. I talk about this on stage.
A long time.
Yes. I talk about on stage how hard it is for me to like, in the past, how hard it has been for me to get out of relationships. Like I have a thought and then I act on it like 10 years later. Mm-hmm. And now I just tell myself, because I feel like you can have a lot of regret of like, why did you stay in something that you were unhappy in? And now I'm like, all things in all time. All things in all time. The universe has my back. Is that what I'm saying every morning to myself?
Yeah. I do the Serenity Prayer, which is my 12-step thing. I do that every morning. And
of course, 2 Al-Anons you're talking to here.
Right,
even though we're, now I'm going to start listing people I've seen in Al-Anon. Just kidding. It's anonymous. Do you write it down too, or you just say it aloud?
I just say it out loud. And what's really good about doing those types of things, like your prayer, your mantra, or your meditations in the morning and night, is that you're in a different theta brainwave when you're like right coming out of unconsciousness and slipping back into unconsciousness. Your brain is kind of more malleable.
I'm like
than
medicating
usual.
myself to sleep, so I don't know what the fuck brainwave I'm on. I'm coming out of bed like I'm from a swamp, like I'm like feeling for the walls. I'm like, where am I? I've taken I have early onset dementia from all the Tylenol PM I've taken.
Well, maybe you'll dement yourself out of the bad
maybe
thoughts.
I'll dement myself out of the bad thoughts.
It is a practice. It takes a really long fucking time, and there's beliefs that are like so deep in the trenches of our psyche's basement, as my therapist calls it.
And we inherit like our own parents' kind of like dopey beliefs. No offense to my dad.
Yeah, because you grew up with those beliefs being taught onto you, and your little brain at its most plastic.
Totally. I grew up with my dad like walking through the house being like, I'm crazy, I'm going crazy.
Chill. That's so chill.
Yeah. Okay, there's something I want to talk a bit more about the mantra.
Yeah, happy to.
I mean the
I'll sit here
Al-Anon.
and tell you all the different things that I've pulled in.
I would love that. But the classic 12-step one, say it with me or remind me of it. Control the things we.
Oh, yeah. The
focus on-
serenity prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
I don't feel I have the wisdom to know the difference. That's my problem with the prayer. Is I love it. I like it. I think it to myself like I can never catch it off the top of my head, but and then I'm like, the wisdom to know the difference. Who has that? I'm worried about everything.
I don't believe you. I think you have the wisdom to know the difference. You know you can't control people.
Do I? Yeah, I guess. I can't. All I can control is myself, and even that is tricky.
Yeah. I think it's the point of relinquishing control, and we know this as like content creators. Anyone trying?
I don't think of myself as a content creator.
I wish I didn't. Born to be a comedian, forced to be a content creator, but when we have to post clips, which is such a necessity of our jobs these days, it's like, you can control everything up until you hit post. And then it is no longer in your control what happens to that thing once it goes out into the algorithm, right? So like, that's a good example where you can definitively here's where I relinquish control and give it to God or the universe or whoever.
And my desire to control has certainly not helped me at all. Yeah. It's only gotten in the way.
And can't you kind of tell that when you're forcefully living through something and you have all this Buddhists,
it's the same as what I was talking about on stage. You don't have a good set when you're fucking tightly wound.
It's exactly that, when you're trying to control something like this. And it's what the Buddhists say about like resistance causes pain, right? Like it's all kind of the same idea in all these different ideologies.
Yeah.
That when you can teach yourself to let go, that's when the magic happens.
That's the hard part though. Like I hear that.
It's the hardest.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
the
like,
hardest.
how do I let go?
Yeah.
Because then what you want to tell yourself is like, I guess don't care so much. But then it's like, these are things like our art.
You're programmed to care.
As dopey as that sounds, as corny. And how can you not care about your writing and your comedy? It's the thing you care most about. And it seems so false to be like, I'm loose. I don't care.
You raise a good point.
Yeah.
But it's an easier way to live. It's an easier way to move through things. And it's kind of, you allow yourself space to have confirmation bias and then like slip deeper into the belief system when you start assigning good things that happen to you to the power of letting go and manifesting.
Okay.
Like you could say, if you wanted to, obviously you deserve all the credit in the world for like finishing your book and being talented enough to get a book deal and all that. But like, how many authors never get a fucking book deal? Yeah. Like that happened for you.
And it's so funny that you say that because I think of it the opposite way of like, I don't know, I guess it's my negative sort of tortured of like, you should have just written a collection of short stories. They forced you to write a novel, even though you wanted to write a novel. It's like, I'm so kooky that it's like, I think it's helpful to, when I'm giving friends advice, particularly about boys, seems to be the easiest thing. I can see other people's sort of negative belief systems at work. Yeah. And then you reframe it for them and you're like, why do you see yourself as unlovable just because this like one like psycho
douche lord,
yes, like this one psycho picked another girl over you, and suddenly it's like and then I think it's so clear to see it on other people where it's something in their head kind of like at work, but then when it's yourself you're like, no, but I'm bad. Yeah, that's real. Anyway, I do want everyone to read the novel, and I think that they'll like it. I will say that I stopped posting stand-up for a little while because number one, I got lazy and I have hours of footage that I just haven't paid someone to cut up. But I also had to keep promoting the book and have been having to promote this novel because my publishing company like tells me when and what to post, though I do a bad job listening. All this to say, I am bleeding followers. I think I've lost 500 followers since I've been, or like to 300, since I've been just promoting a book. And I'm like, oh, the amount of my followers who are just men who want to see feet and a woman like do stand up, and the idea that I have a novel out, they're like, boo, unfollow. And the whole desire, I think, that is so at odds with social media is like wanting to be seen as the complex whole person that you are. And then so much of what makes people successful on social media is like finding a niche You know?
Ooh, I could talk about this all day because I've been putting myself through like YouTube University on branding for the last couple of weeks.
YouTube University. I should ring a bell every time you use a phrase or say a word. I've never.
Bringing the whole show. I am such like I just
you're
love
a student.
A euphemism,
and I also feel like you're a true student, which I'm a student too. Like I this is like so personal that I'm saying just to you, but now I guess I'm saying to this pod of like, I was talking to my therapist about, I consider myself attracted to both men and women, though I don't talk about it that much because I always have like a serious boyfriend. But this debut novel is like this bisexual debut. And I was saying to my therapist, like, I think I need to like, we were talking about my internalized homophobia from like growing up in Orange County in the 90s. All my friends were evangelical Christians, and then I went to college and was in a sorority. And I was like, can I read a book about it? And she was like, can't you just think about it? And like, why do you have to read a book? Like, why do you have to read a book on internalized homophobia? Why can't you just like be a person? She didn't say it like that.
But that's where we're the same form of type A, where instead of, I love that you said that. I've never thought of it that way, but I have that problem, and my therapist has also tried to fucking put me in my place about it, that I try to read a book on everything. If there
She's
was
like,
a
what
book,
if we,
how
like,
to,
this is what therapy's for, is for us to talk out these things that you have such trouble with inside
but we want
of yourself.
directions. We want someone to tell us this is
It's
how
also,
you
I think,
do
what
it,
we
A,
know
B, and
we're
C.
good at. Like, I got a fucking doctorate. I'm a good student.
Yeah.
And I'm less good at sitting with uncomfortable feelings and sorting them out. But I am a good reader. That's like maybe the one thing I'm good at is reading.
But that's so real. It's like I'm trying to put myself through an education on branding because
this is what we were talking about. So you went to YouTube University, and who is the dean of YouTube University? Matt Rife. Like, who's the best YouTuber out there?
I can give you a list. Currently, I'm listening to this creator. He goes by Callaway, and his whole thing is on how to like grow a YouTube channel.
And is a lot of it that you need a niche?
Yeah.
Or you're supposed to have a niche. This is like comedians I know who've really focused on the fact that they're like teachers, let's say, or like, have you seen the comedians or TikTokers that are like nurses? And then their whole audiences are kind of like nurses, and nurses go to watch them. And I just, that doesn't sound good to me.
It doesn't sound good to me either. And I was trying to figure out a way that it could be like palatable and that I could do it without feeling like I was doing it.
Yeah.
And then so what I did instead, because what you can do is just discover, like you can have 3 or 4 pillars. And so I was like, what are my pillars? What are 4 areas?
Can I guess some of your pillars?
Please.
What is this podcast called? Is it called Spiritual Pod? I feel like it should be called.
It's just my name.
I feel like it should be
Galina,
called like,
Rivina, Podcastina.
I feel like one of your pillars is like spirituality, / like manifestation. I'm gonna put that as one of them.
I like that.
Okay. Obviously comedy, like just kind of straight up stand up, and I think of you as being sort of like a classic joke writer type comedian, as opposed to I don't know what the fuck other kind, but you see people up there, you're like, you're not joke writing, you're doing something.
Yeah.
You're doing something that I've never seen before. Spirituality, stand up, like a studier. I think that's different. Like a lifelong like learner, studier. And then I'd say the 4th, like surfer girl type. Like surfing, that beach.
You're close.
Now you're moving to Austin. Okay, now do your pillars.
Okay. My pillars that I had to figure out.
Yeah.
So one is comedy. Like that's my first and foremost pillar.
Yeah.
My second one is health and wellness.
Okay, I'm around there. Right?
And you're around there with the spirituality. I would lump
yeah.
spirituality into that.
Wellness,
but I'm like constantly curious about, obviously, like I'm a big fucking gym bro and I want to learn about that, and I care about health and nutrition. My other pillar is talking about like toxic masculinity and feminine masculine issues.
Okay,
you know,
that's interesting.
I think that's an area that
gender and sort of
our treatment of one another. And I get that
women's treatment of one another, or comedians' treatment of one another, or men
and women, like their treatment among each other.
Oh,
like that's definitely one. Like I always, whenever I have male guests, I try to ask them what their take is on like the red pilled movement and all that bullshit.
Yeah. And they're like, "What's that?"
I know. They a lot of them have been like, I don't even know what that is.
My
and I'm
boyfriend would have no idea what that is.
Yeah, we're on different parts of the internet then.
Yes.
And then my fourth pillar is literally just for me, and I just started like dialing this in very, very recently. I think because I've been loading up on all this education, and I'm like, okay, what's like a recognizable pillar that people can look at me and see and kind of like lump me in a category. And I did very
Ukrainian. Just kidding.
No.
Just kidding.
Not Ukrainian, but that I'm like an elder emo, that I'm like a scene kid. And so I had like kind of neglected that part of my...
That's interesting. See, I was going surfer girl. Because I know you surf and you like being by the beach. And
I tried to make that my personality for a bit. I definitely did. But now I have to like let it go. And,
I like scene girl.
Yeah.
We grew up in a very...
back in.
We grew up in a very particular like time in the night.
We did.
Like, who did you like? Did you like Dashboard Confessional?
No, I liked all the screamo bands.
Oh, see, that was too scary for me. I liked like emo, like Dashboard Confessional.
Yeah.
Who else was like that? Like Dashboard Confessional. Of course, loved Blink-182, but who didn't?
I was listening to like the Used.
I still wear
and
Vans.
Taking Back Sunday. I still wear Vans too. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Taking Back. I liked all those, and I had a boyfriend in high school who loved those.
All my boyfriends were in screamo bands.
But I would find it scary, and I would ask for it to be turned down. I was like, "Why is everybody?"
You would hate my taste in music.
So you're bopping around.
I listen to like mostly metal these days, like mostly.
Oh my god! See, and that is funny, and I think it's people like. This is something I've thought about in comedy and just in me moving through the world. People like to see a small woman scream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
I have been trying to work out on stage this idea of like small woman. I think I have small woman privilege, like also white privilege. But I got to an airport and didn't have my ID, and they let me on the plane. Like yes, I mean they had to make a call, but it was like not a big deal. And I also like I'm 5 feet. The pod can't. How tall are you? Are we the same height?
5'1". Yeah.
When I yell and like threaten to beat someone's ass, everybody claps. You know, it's like that kind of thing. And when I'm teaching, I can say stuff to the students. Like I try to set them up together. I say, why don't you go sit on so-and-so's lap? Like I act crazy. And I'm like, cause I'm 5 feet. So it's like, you can't get mad at me. Like, what am I? I'm not trying to be creepy. I'm 5 feet. A 5 feet woman. A 5 foot woman can't be creepy.
Yeah.
Now a 5 foot man. Yes. 5'4" woman. 5'5" woman. Yes.
It's not as cute anymore.
No. If you're small, I always say this to my friend. Have you met Caitlin Tanamoto? She's 4'10".
Oh no,
tiny,
yes I have.
And she's always screaming. And people are just clapping. They love to see her scream because it's funny to see a small woman. Just like it's funny to see a small woman listening to music where someone is screaming. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a physically identifiable thing where it's like, I love this, so why don't I bring it into this like online persona so people that like that type of music can identify with me? And then if they're like, oh, she's also into health and fitness, so am I, why don't I like, you know,
and
learn
so this
more?
YouTube channel, you're not talking about just the pod. This is like a more larger, like you're going to talk to us about health and wellness. You're going to talk to us about spirituality. I feel like the pod's name, not that I'm asking you to rebrand, should be like something spiritual. Like, yeah, like I'm ready for you to teach me how to manifest.
Yeah.
I guess you already did. Now I'm ready to manifest. The universe has my back.
Yes,
the universe has my back. The universe has my back.
Julia Austin actually
she's a spiritual gal, right?
She's a spiritual gal, and she really like hit the nail on the head with telling me what this show is when I had been like looking and not having such a hard time with writing the bio and being like, what is it specifically?
Well, and our bio's awful, like having to sum yourself
bios
up.
Are awful, and I'm like, it's not self-help because self-help makes it sound like you're in the throes of, you know, you're like in shambles and you need self-help, and it's like, it's not self-help. And she goes, oh, it's self-mastery. And I was like, aha. And so I went and changed everything to that because self-mastery to me feels more like you're at a place where you're content with who you are and things are fairly stable, but you would like to optimize. You would like to learn. You would like to like do things a little bit better, dial it in a little bit more.
The best version of yourself. Yeah, I think for as long as I've known you, you're always educating yourself on how to be the best version of yourself, the happiest version of yourself. Trying. Yes. You introduced me to that podcast where the woman's in an armchair. This is like such inside baseball.
Okay. I think it was it Michelle Chalfant?
Yes,
Yeah, the
yes.
adult chair.
Let's get her on here.
I would love to get her on here.
Yeah.
She's on my list of dream guests. But yeah, I'm always finding stuff like that where it's just a little bit. I listen to like less of those types of podcasts these days because I'm exhausted off doing this one.
Well, you're also probably just like in a better place than
that
you were at the time you needed those podcasts.
1,000%, yeah.
I wrote this, speaking of the debut novel, it was a lot and it is fiction. Okay, it is not about me. Sometimes people don't know the difference between fiction and nonfiction. I made the whole thing up. But there are of course themes I'm interested in my own life, and I think I'm really interested on like growing up in a family and the ways in which that the way it sets us up, both good and bad. Also times I've blamed my parents for stuff that they shouldn't be blamed for, but because I was having trouble. And I think that makes its way into the novel of like a protagonist being critical of the way she grew up, but also being critical of herself for blaming her parents because at some point, everybody is doing the best that they can do, you know.
Do you believe that everybody's doing their best?
Yes, because I think some people, we would look at them and be like, this is the best you can do, but they have a ceiling of how kind of deeply they understand the world themselves. But I'm like committed to sort of unpacking what it means to grow up in a family, be a daughter, be a parent, be a sister, you know, the roles, how we're hemmed in by them, how we're not, how we fight against roles too that I think feel like they've been passed on to us, especially as women, right?
Mm-hmm. That's so real.
Life's fucking long, dude.
Would you say that's one of your pillars?
I think my pillars are reading, stand up, poker, like, psychology or self-help or understanding.
That's what you and I have bonded on a lot. Because you're always so inquisitive of how did we end up the way we ended up?
Yes,
is
I'm
it
really
worth healing?
interested in that. And I think when I say reading, I'm including writing too, but I was a reader before I was a writer. And I think the books I like the best are books that it's always asking, it's always asking, how did we get here? But also like the mystery of other people. Like so many books I love are just about how we cannot possibly know another person, not fully, you know? And like the tragedy of that, the mystery of that, how wonderful it is. It's like whenever anybody says like they're a perfect couple, I'm like, you have no idea what goes on in those people's heads. Sorry, I scared him.
It's okay.
Like that's what half of novels are, is like you think this is going on when in reality, like how do we communicate the storm of what goes on inside of us, I think is that's like the best characters in books, are like someone is acting in a way that's against their better judgment. I love that. Does this make you want to read?
It does.
So
you know how people say you're the sum of like the 5 people that you hang out with the most? Are people the sum of the books that they like the most?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Sometimes I think books are a coping mechanism for me, like all the other bad coping mechanisms. Some coping mechanisms are good, some are bad. At other times in my life, I felt horrifically depressed, and books were a salve, like it helped me escape. I don't think about anything else when I'm reading. But then I also use poker. I also use masturbating. I use alcohol. I use reality TV. So I'd say it's the one coping mechanism I have that's positive. I want to say I use running a little, but when I run and I eat well when I'm already feeling good. What's hard for me always is if I'm feeling kooky, then what I want to do is eat poorly, watch reality TV, not read, not exercise, not write. But I know when I'm doing best, I'm doing all the things that I know make me happy. Staying offline, that's kind of a big one.
That's the hardest one to do.
Especially if you're a comedian.
Yeah.
And, you know.
That was why.
You kind of can miss out on people's news. But I feel like my best friends tell me their news.
It's true.
You know, and I want them to know, like, if I didn't like your news, it's because I'm making a personal habit to try to stay offline. But like, someone will be like, did you see so-and-so got like a movie deal? And I'll be like, I didn't see it because I'm trying to stay offline, not because I don't care and want their success.
But I wouldn't expect anyone, I wouldn't put that on you. If you missed something of mine, I'm not going to be like, you don't care about me.
That's kooky for someone to be like, you don't care, you didn't like it. But people get uptight about stuff online. Have you seen the documentary Social Studies on I think Amazon? Oh, it's so good. It's by this great documentarian, and she gets access to 5 teenagers' cell phones at like Pally High. And not only does she watch them like move through the world on their phones, she sees what's on their phones, and then she's interviewing them, and it's so fascinating and disturbing and moving what they're exposed to, like the porn they've seen at a young age. All the young girls think that everybody gets choked and like smacked around, and all the parties they go to, they're all like little mini celebrities. Like the parties they go to are for being photographed at the parties. It's wild. And they all have kind of different relationships to social media. But at one point, one of them says to each other, like, I wish we could all just get offline. Like, we'd be so much happier. But if we weren't on social media, then we wouldn't exist. And you're just like, like the idea that to not have a like footprint online would mean that you're not alive in the world.
I mean, today, yeah,
it kind of did turn into that. It makes them also anxious, and also in their body image and their whatever. But it's like, yeah, it's. Oh. He scared me. You scared me.
He does that sometimes when someone's in the hall.
I think don't you think it's agreeing?
I think he's agreeing too. Even he's online.
He's online. He's like, my body image. Am I too poofy? I'm too fluffy. Anyway, I recommend that, but it'll make you.
I like that. The reason I wanted to go to Big Sur for my birthday was because there's no cell phone service there, and
that's why
I just
love
needed
the
to turn
Queen
off.
Spa. Yeah, because I put my phone in the locker, and then I feel like I can concentrate for once in my fucking life.
Yeah, it's hard. It's especially when so much of my metrics for giving myself validation are on the phone.
And of course, your therapist would be like, the only real validation can come from within. But then I'm like, but what kind of validation is that if it's from within?
I'm like, you can keep that validation. I want followers.
Yeah, I'm in the mirror going, I feel validated. I mean, that's something you would do. Saying over and over again, I feel validated. I feel validated. I feel validated. Has doing the podcast upped your follower count?
It has, yeah.
Cool. Publishing a novel has absolutely tanked mine. But it has made me realize this thing of like how arbitrary that kind of.
It's for sure.
So many of my followers are like, yeah, dudes who want to see my feet.
They weren't people that were going to really support you. And the people that are staying on board just like you that much more because they become what this guy Calloway was saying are like super fans because they're into you for multiple things then, right?
Yes,
like
yes.
if they were
and
into
the complexity of you.
Right. For comedy. And then they're like, oh my God, she's a writer too. I'm so inspired. She's just creative writing. And then
instead they're like, if I have to hear about this fucking book. Say more dick jokes I can yell at you about. That's the other thing too, is it's hard to be obviously a woman online in a different way than it is to be a man online, I think.
Well, you're just walking through fucking landmines.
Yeah, and you become a sort of I think canister for a lot of men's frothy rage.
Beautifully put.
So what can I say? I'm a writer, and it's not about you or what you're saying, but it's about, I think, this idea of a woman on stage saying anything when a man is at home feeling kind of powerless. And why he's feeling powerless, I don't fucking know. But not
you
my
don't want to
problem.
know.
I don't
want to know. Your problem. And like we know, right? We know better. We both sit here and know that it's projection and that it's like not. No,
but it still like
person.
puts you in a bad mood.
It still puts you in a bad mood because it's hard. But like I do think we're targeted more than most people. I do think
comedians.
Yeah, female comedians in particular.
Yeah, female. Yeah.
We're like truly one of the most hated
groups. If a male comedian says a joke another man doesn't like, they're like, not funny. Mm-hmm. If a woman does it, any joke seems to make them rage, or they tell you if you're like fuckable, or, you know, nobody's telling a man if they're fuckable. But I always say something about my online persona seems to inspire neither love nor hate. People are I'm like, I'm making men feel real neutral.
I do clap back a lot of times, but I need to dial that back because
Every
that's
now
also
and
going
then
to get.
I've responded and then someone has been surprised, like they forget
Yeah.
that you're a real person.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, I'm actually a big fan. And they're like, well, why did you say something rude?
Yeah,
You were just trying to get attention or you didn't know.
People would rather have negative attention than none at all. So when they're not getting any attention at all, they'll just poke the bear because that's the only way that they can feel seen.
And I have this whole complicated relationship, obviously, to like, I don't think stand-up is meant to be seen. It was meant to be in person.
Correct.
And now we're putting it in this different medium that it wasn't really meant for. And
if you don't, you don't get to do comedy.
Yeah, or you feel like you're being left behind, kind of, or you're old school in this way that's like not. And I don't want to be. I'm in my 30s. I don't want to be the type who's sort of like, get off my lawn, like in my day.
Yeah.
Like I want to fucking roll with the times.
We're not big enough to be excluded out. Like Dave Chappelle doesn't have to post clips.
Right,
you know,
right.
Like Bill Burr doesn't have to post clips.
But it's with everything. Like I have a little bit of, you think about like the best things about you, and then you think about the worst things about you. I have this phrase I've been saying lately. I started saying it with a friend and I'm saying it to my therapist all the time. I think I'm ashamed, guilty, thoughtful, talented. Those are my 4 like pillars that I think about myself.
Huh.
Guilty, ashamed, thoughtful, talented. Guilty, ashamed, thoughtful, talented. Guilty, ashamed, thoughtful, talented. Those are my 4 kind of things that swirl around inside me. I feel constantly guilty. I feel ashamed. I'm thoughtful. I'm talented. And I think you have core ideas about yourself that are both negative and positive. And one of mine is that I'm like kind of averse to change. I'm avoidant. I'm bad at making changes with technology in particular, but also just in general. Like I can't I've lived in the same apartment for a while. My boyfriend would like to move in together. I can't make a change. I get mired and I'm afraid. But I eventually get to the other side. I'm just slow and yeah.
Do you pathologize that about yourself or are you fine with it?
I pathologize everything about myself. I'm literally repeating guilty, ashamed, thoughtful, talented, guilty, ashamed, thoughtful, talented as my 4 pillars about myself. You're asking for my pillars: guilty, ashamed, thoughtful, talented. I don't know. And yeah, it's just I think that the what makes me, the swirling inside of me: guilty, ashamed, thoughtful, talented. Hi.
I wonder what I would have to take time that we don't
To
have on
think
this
it through.
episode to think what
Yeah.
my 4 are, but
And I think you could ask me, like, where does the guilt and shame come from? And I'm like, well, that's a whole different story, called being alive.
yeah.
In the house I grew up in, guilty, ashamed, thoughtful, talented. Yeah.
I think not enough would be like one of mine, where it's just always, and I forgot for like the longest time, and it took my childhood best friend to remind me that this would happen, and this explains so much of like the lifelong student thing. I couldn't relax, because if I was just relaxing, that means I wasn't accomplishing something.
They say that's like a sign of a traumatized child from a
shit.
dysfunctional home. To relax is like bad.
Relaxing is bad because I'm not getting anything done when I'm relaxing,
Right.
so I better be relaxing with
True,
some kind
like-
of book, or I better be
Right.
relaxing
True,
with like
daughter
learning.
of immigrants for you.
Yeah,
of, like-
1000%. Because they would walk in and I wouldn't be. I would be relaxing, and they'd be like, "Don't you have homework? Like, don't you have something to learn? Shouldn't you be
Yeah.
reading Tolstoy?" And I'm
Of
like,
course you're. Of
"I'm
course you're-
14."
Yeah. Of course you want to be doing something.
Yeah. And that's been. I understand in recent years, I think I've done enough work to be able to isolate when I'm having that and be like, no, it's downtime, and
Yeah.
downtime is necessary.
And you're
within-
allowed to relax.
You're allowed to relax. And I take the lesson from something like bodybuilding, for example. Like, if you don't take rest days off the gym and off working out, you're not going to get hypertrophy. Your muscles need you to not fucking do anything for a day or two for them to be able to grow. So I'm like, okay, let me try to implement that everywhere, and know that sometimes I hit my wall with communication or with getting things done. But then at the same time, when it's time to get stuff done, my mentality, and this is like so immigrant, but I'm like, well, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. So I have to do it. It's not like I'll take the podcast as an example. It's like, no one's asking me to put out these fucking episodes. No one's telling me to stay up till midnight publishing an episode like I was doing last night. And I'm like, but I have to.
Right.
It's not that I want to, it's that it needs to happen.
Right. And part of that is true, of course, if you're a self-motivated, self-disciplined, and you don't have a boss, it has to be you. But then at the same time, like, when do you allow yourself a break? I'm a little bit feast or famine, whereas like at least the way I completed this novel, I was either working around the clock, like not sleeping, not eating, or horrifically procrastinating and like not answering emails, being, like to the publisher and my agents being like, love to see another draft. And I was like, don't know where it is. And I think it's, that one of that avoidant thing in me is like when I get fearful or nervous, I get like paralyzed. And then I go into one of my sort of coping mechanism holes, like reality TV or something where there's like a word for it, but I can't think of it, of like.
It's a numbing response.
Yes. Yeah.
It's freeze.
Yeah. But and then I eventually get it done, but I make it so much more difficult through doing that, like either working around the clock or frozen. And I'm trying in this next draft where I don't yet have like a contract and a deadline to just write 500 words a day and get it done and check it off, and as opposed to either writing nothing or writing every second of the, like not being able to rest around the clock.
Let me ask you this. So if you skip a day, do you have to do 1,000 the next day to make up for it?
Yeah.
That's where it gets tricky.
That's where it gets tricky. Slope. Yeah. Actually, no. So this is how I do. If I write over, then I check how many 500 words. So if I skip the next day, then that's okay because I wrote. I'm not always negotiating with myself. It's like, can't I just be normal? There's other ways that people do it. Some people do a time frame, like instead of a certain, in order to force yourself to write every day. So like, I like the word count if I'm working on a novel. If I'm working on a short story, I think you can do a certain amount of time. I know like Amy Bender, my mentor, writes 2 hours a day. And
that's
blocks.
A lot for writing. Writing is I don't know if people understand this who don't write. And obviously I've never done like long form writing, but I've had a copywriting job and like we write for stand up. But it's one of the hardest disciplines to actually do for an extended period of time.
It's fun. It's the best, but I find stand up to be, no matter what mood I'm in, I can go do stand up. Writing, my relationship to it is way more like fraught and tortured, I think, because I care so much about books. Not that I don't care about stand-up, but stand-up's dopey.
It's inherently unserious because of what
yes,
it
and when I hear comedians be like, they talk about themselves like fucking philosophizers, I'm like, I'm talking about cum. Like, I'm talking about other things. I hope I'm talking about cum in a smart way, but I'm like, I'm not a philosophizer in my stand-up. Like, I'm just trying to have fun and anyway.
How do you get yourself out of the rut then when you are going through that freeze period? Does something click where you're like, okay, time to light a fire?
I have to do, like I get to where I have to meet the deadline. I keep thinking somebody's coming through the door.
The doors close very loud in the hallway here.
Oh, okay. I'm like, we're about to get murdered. But it's trickier when it's just you and there's no sort of deadline. I know that it's one of those things where I know I feel better when I write. So if I'm not feeling great, it's usually because I'm not writing every day. And then I get back to where I start writing every day and suddenly...
And then you stop running and eating well. And
exactly. Yeah. It's like when I start writing every day again, suddenly I start also running, eating well. And then suddenly I'm like, I feel great. And then I'm like, fuck, you thought you felt great. Now you're going to feel bad because of the... when you have a good thought, a bad thought's going to come. No. But it all kind of goes together of like, I feel better in the world when I'm writing every day, just as I feel better when I'm exercising, when I'm eating well. I also feel better every day when I'm writing because I'm thinking deeply, I'm observing, I'm thinking about stuff other than myself because I don't write essay or memoir. So I'm like trying to create characters outside of myself. And I just feel better when I'm doing it. And a lot of people say that about stand-up too. Like, I feel weird when I don't do stand-up. I feel better when I do stand-up.
I'm that way, where if I go too long, it becomes... I remember the first time, because I had hit the ground running at such an insane... just
like you were doing like 5 mics a day or whatever.
I did 365 sets my first year.
365 sets? That's a set every day. I had to like do the math.
I was running to multiple mics because it was like, oh, I didn't get up at Nerd Melt. I didn't get up at Potluck. Now I need to drive to Silver Lake and get up at the Echo. Whatever.
That was
Echoes
in
Under
LA.
Sunset. That was in LA. So that was because I had started in December of 2014. So in January, I'm a huge New Year's resolution dweeb. And I meet them. I don't set ones I won't meet. Like that's not my form of type A. But I was like, oh, I would really love to do 300 sets for 2015. And once I passed 300, I was like, I could make 365. And then I did. But meanwhile, I was working till 5 at an office job downtown every day. And I was working at Ferrari till 5 every Saturday, 6 days a week, doing sets all the time, having a dog.
I think I was also obsessive when I started. You have to be obsessed. I mean, I think
you have to be obsessive.
Or else, when I first started, I wasn't obsessive and I was dabbling. I didn't feel, and then when I got into it, you have to get obsessed. But I was also obsessed with like reading when I decided I think comedians have that in quality.
We're very obsessive.
We're obsessives.
Yeah.
I'm kind of obsessed with poker lately. And then you always ask yourself the question, am I obsessed with things that I'm good at? Or do I get good at things that I'm obsessed with? And I think it's sort of a...
Oh, yeah. Chicken or the egg
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
situation.
yeah.
I forget why I brought that up. Fuck, what were we talking about before
We
that?
were
I had
talking
something
about-
poignant to say about why I was doing so many sets. Damn it. It's eluding me.
Well, we were talking about like writing every day or not doing stand-up.
Oh, not doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was doing so much, I hit a snag when I went on vacation that year. I went to Europe. And I felt so uncomfortable in my body and I didn't understand why. And it was because I abruptly stopped doing stand-up after I had been doing it at such
Almost
a fucking
like a drug.
breakneck speed.
Like you were withdrawing.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say the opposite of like you didn't have enough to talk about because you weren't living enough life.
You would think that's what should have been the realization. That's what it should have been. But instead it was me being awkward on this trip with a friend being like, I don't know why I feel so weird. And
you're
not
like
really
doing
knowing.
stand up to her. And she's like, what is going on?
I didn't know what. I also wasn't into like being connected with my body yet at that point. So I didn't know when I felt
feel like
weird.
I've only gotten semi-connected to my body like 3 months ago.
Same. I feel like it just happened yesterday. You know, it's
and I
this new
still
thing.
like I still have trouble. My therapist will be like, and how are you feeling? And I say, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's so odd.
The fact that I always cry with my therapist is kind of such a win.
Galina! Every session I cry. I touch my eyes and tears are coming out. And I have to be like,
and then I'm like, I don't need therapy anymore.
no, I'm like, anything goes wrong, I'm like, do you have an extra appointment? Because I see her every other week.
Yeah, she wants me to come in more.
How often have you been seeing yours?
Just once a month.
I mean, you do seem pretty even keeled.
I mostly am, and I did therapy every week for many years.
Yeah.
I did get that part out of the way, but I think what she she tried to tell me this last time. God, I'm so personal on here. I'm
talking about coming out as bisexual in a novel.
But I think she understands that I'm not telling her something, and I don't know what I'm not telling her, and that's where we kind of keep like running into a wall.
Oh my God. That's so interesting. And do you feel like there is a closed offness to yourself?
It's so inaccessible that I don't even know what it is.
Damn.
It's bad. She calls it my basement. She goes, Galina, your house is a vibe, but we're trying to look at the basement. The basement's dusty and moldy and dark.
You have this sense that you have a basement that you haven't been able to get into.
It's like a sense of being unworthy that unless I accomplish all these insane things. And then I have this.
So then you are able to communicate what's going on.
Yeah, but I also like, and it's like, because it hasn't happened yet, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to feel great when all of these things actually get accomplished. And then they will. And then I'm going to have this like debilitating emptiness.
Yeah. Or I think more likely that isn't going to make you. Accomplishing the things won't make you feel what you think they're going to make you feel.
Well, yeah. You published a book, you tell me.
And I'm miserable. All I can think about is the next book. All I keep saying is I don't want to be a debut novelist. I want to be a novelist. I just want the second book out. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've been thinking a lot about when I was early to writing and I think to stand up. I had this idea that any good thing that happened in writing or stand up would be like a gift from God, like I'm agnostic, but meaning like winning the lottery. Like someone would come out and be like, and you get a book deal, even though I'd done almost no writing, you know, or like you get to be on TV for stand up, even though you'd been doing it for like a year. And now I see that what actually happens is like by the time you get a thing that you want, you have worked so long and hard that it no longer seems like a gift. It seems like you're due.
Yeah.
Like this is my due. I've been writing short stories for 20 fucking years. Since I was like 8. I'm making myself 28.
I like that. But that kind of circles back to what we're talking about with manifesting, where when you are so confident in your abilities, do you just call it in because you become so sure that you're worthy of the thing? That you're like, hey, I'm so good at this now that I am
so
like,
cute how Monty
isn't
goes
it?
to touch
He
it.
just always wants to be touching me. It's so sweet. He's obsessed with me. But
yeah, but I wouldn't say I feel that confident. Like, no, but I hear you. Like
the sense of entitlement that the universe owes you.
I guess I more mean like by the time it comes, you're like, I guess it's entitled. Like, yeah, of course it came. I've been working for, I had to publish in all these places. Like you look back at the journey and it seems long and like you lived every second of it and you as opposed to getting something as a lucky break. And I do think there are people who get lucky breaks early on, and I have never been jealous of them because I think that can be really tough to deal with, like getting a book off of one short story or like getting some break and stand up. And I always think maybe it's like what you said about, I know nothing about working out, but like you need to work out in order to build muscle. I think you need the years of trying in order to get the thing.
Yeah.
But maybe I say that because I am in my mid 30s, the first time I published a novel. So
thank God. I think it's more you present as a better example to others when you're older and accomplishing things, because it sets more realistic expectations for other people. And I want people to be able to like look at me and be like, oh, okay, I don't have to panic that I'm however old and that the thing hasn't happened yet.
Well, I thought when I was 22, I would have a book out by the time I was like 26. And now I'm like, what a laughable thought you had. I had one good short story by 28, 26. And now when I teach, I always tell, like I teach adults who want to learn how to write short stories and are writing short stories. And I always say, my biggest advice to you is to have patience. Like it takes so long. And maybe this is part manifesting or part just if you don't give up, then you eventually get the thing. You get better. You get good.
Yeah. Consistency is everything you want in life. This is not my quote, but everything you want in life is on the other side of consistency.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. I'm like, is part of my consistency being insane? I'm consistently insane. Yes.
He'll give anyone his paw.
Yeah.
He's such a good boy. I think we were talking about this a little bit before we sat down, but I'm curious to get your read on it because it sounds like your read is more compassionate.
The way I'm laying here.
Yeah, you're like off camera.
I'm like, can I sit normal?
When we come across people that are saying stupid things, that are being ignorant or whatever, I think that invokes such rage for me. And I finally realized what it is that it invokes in me that's so devastating and why I get so reactive when people are stupid. I was raised with the idea that being stupid is an existential threat. So when I'm around or I'm experiencing somebody's perceived stupidity, it feels like it's a physical threat to my life. So that's why I get like so mad about it.
Is the existential threat like something bad will happen to us if we're stupid?
Yeah, because of like communism or because whatever the fuck ancestral trauma my family's lived through, that if you're dumb, you're literally threatening your survival.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think, we were talking about before that like when I think of someone, I can't think of people as cruel because it makes me unable to like continue living. And so I have to think of them as miseducated or uneducated, or they've been taking in a lot of news that I think is purposefully meant to miseducate them. But I don't know. I think there are small things we do that are putting empathy out into the world. And that makes me feel, whether it's writing, doing stand-up, doing this podcast, that like also someone can have a thought and then if not have it changed, have it be complicated by like something we do or say,
Challenge
or
it.
challenge it. Yeah. I don't know. And I'm also trying to not, I'm pretty left wing, but I'm trying not to. Sometimes I think I'm smarter than everyone, like smarter than people who don't think the way that I do. And I know inherently everybody is so complicated, and that if the dumb saying, if I walked a mile in their shoes, like I wouldn't think they were dumb. I would think they were traumatized probably by whatever they've been through. And then I would have a different opinion on them.
That's very similar to a train of thought I was having yesterday, because I was kind of thinking about this getting out of the shower last night, that it's not just about people's level of intelligence as far as like something measurable, like an IQ score. You're never just getting that. You're also getting their trauma, their cognitive bias, their dissonance.
Yes. Everything that's gone wrong for them ever in life.
There's so much lumped into it besides just level of intelligence.
Totally.
And keeping that in mind, I'm hoping will keep me more empathetic and more curious about people when I disagree with them, because fuck, I'm about to be walking into a fucking lion's den next year of people who I don't agree with about certain things.
And the truth is, I really only know one thing, and it's books. Like, there are a lot of things I don't know, and but I think a lack of emotional intelligence is what is so upsetting to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm like, what? You can't put yourself in someone else's shoes? Like, have you never worn shoes? You can't take the shoes off and put on somebody else's? Like, what is wrong with you? And it's so, that I find so frustrating. The same thing, honestly, one of my weird side jobs is I run book clubs. And of course, the protagonist in my novel facilitates book clubs. So we'll see how that all goes when that comes out. But I get very like personally upset when my book clubs, I feel, misread the books. Like they don't get the subtext or I feel like they're not getting the nuance. And my therapist was like, don't you think what you're really talking about is yourself? Like, you are upset when people don't understand the complexity of who you are, and you like put yourself into, you think explaining these books to these women is like you explaining yourself to them. And so if they don't understand the complexity, you're so upset. I don't know. They'll read a complex novel about a marriage, that's neither good nor bad, just complicated. And a woman will be like, she hated her husband.
Ooh,
and I'm like,
projecting.
That's what you got from that? This complicated. Like that, and then I'm just like, why are you being so reductive? And I think what I'm really responding to is this idea of myself being reduced or seen just one way,
or that maybe you fear that you're doing that to other people too.
Probably all of it.
It comes back to
when people get really mad at hypocrisy, I'm like, we're all hypocrites, right? We all kind of think we're not doing the thing that we do. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying we touched on this too, of are people doing their best though? Because if you decide that you're gonna blanket believe that people are doing their best, even them being ignorant and not empathetic, and is them doing their best.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I think that when I think of people have a ceiling, that like they're yeah. I guess I gotta just be like, that's the whole thing of the stuff you can't control. I'm like, I can't control what people's ceilings are, and I have a ceiling. I'm very aware of that. Ask my boyfriend. I have a low ceiling, probably. I'm like an addict.
What relationship advice do you give people? Because you've always, as long as I've known you, you've been in a long-term relationship.
I'm always in some fucking long-term relationship. I love my boyfriend, so I didn't mean to say it like that. But
no, but you seem to be good. Then you must be good at relationships.
I think so. I mean, I think some of the advice I give, like, you don't need, which is like, I feel like maybe you're a little bit the opposite, where sometimes I think the only power I have is that I like being alone, so that I will never settle for someone not being like kind to me or making me feel good or making my life feel better because of how much I like being alone. And I feel like you're like that too.
I love being alone.
So that usually I feel like when I'm giving someone advice, it's because I feel like they're stooping to something that they don't need to stoop to because they're afraid of being alone or because they feel lonely. So yeah, I'm like, how do you like How do you like being alone less? What do you think is like
My holdup?
Yeah. Is it that you are like, is one of your issues you think that you're waiting for the perfect person and that they don't exist?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think of anyone that you've been with or like dated, been on a few dates with, that you said no to, that you're now kind of like, oh, maybe I was too quick, I'd like to circle back? No, then I think you've done nothing wrong.
But
The fact that there isn't anyone that you're like, oh, I overlooked that person, I think is good. It says to me that you're not, like, I think you have a lot of self-respect, which I think is.
I might have too much is the problem, because then I had this epiphany like, oh, maybe I do want a family. And now I'm like, bitch, clock is ticking. You better start giving somebody a chance.
Yeah.
I make excuses. And now my latest excuse is I'm moving in 6 months. So why would I date right now?
Excuses not to date.
Yeah, 1,000%. Because it was like, oh, it's my career. I'm busy with this. I'm busy with stand-up. Like, I'm always fucking busy with something.
Right.
And then I have dated here and there. Obviously, I've been in a few short relationships.
Right.
I haven't been in anything long and significant in a long time.
Right. Yeah, because I think the other issue too is like, and I know a lot of people like this, and they're always like hot and cool, that they like online dating or whatever they would have to do to date is so uncomfortable that instead they're just like, maybe someone will come through the ceiling or like through the chimney. Like it's like it's Santa, you know?
Can I tell you what? I typically don't use ChatGPT for personal stuff.
Oh my God.
I try to keep it. I can't even believe I'm going to admit this on camera.
Go ahead.
I try to keep it to like asking it how to, for SEO stuff for me and how to use software.
What is YouTube University?
Exactly. But I asked it where it thinks I might find a partner, and it goes, I know.
Denver, Colorado.
No.
Oh, I feel like there are a lot of there. Okay.
But also, of course, it's taking input from all the things that I've talked about it with before.
Okay, this is so creepy.
It asked me, it goes, oh, you never asked me about this kind of stuff. First off, what are you looking for in a partner? And my narcissistic ass said, I would love the male version of me.
I don't think that's crazy, though, that like you want somebody who values what you value.
Yeah. And what I mean by that is that like I'm trustworthy, not just in a sense of fidelity, but in like a competence way. It's really important for me to be with someone who I can trust to get simple things done.
Yeah.
Which I know is such a low bar, but unfortunately I've dated
No.
people that I like wouldn't trust to watch Monty or wouldn't trust to like not set the house on fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you've dated comedians.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've dated people that use bed sheets as curtains. But so it's like that is a quality that I feel like ChatGPT knows that I have, or the learning, right? Like the curiosity.
And I just want to reiterate that we here on this pod do not support ChatGPT.
Correct. Totally.
At least me. Bad for the Okay.
It knows I'm moving, so it did go, oh, he's probably in Austin. And then here's the part where it hurt my feelings a little bit. It goes, you'll probably meet him at a podcasting convention or a biohacking cafe. And I was like, I'll just die alone.
What is biohacking?
I don't know. Well, biohacking, like longevity.
Oh, like that guy who has
wellness.
that Netflix documentary.
Yeah,
that's like
notary client of mine, by the way.
Like How to Live Forever, that guy?
Yeah.
Damn, that's wild.
I can't say too much more, but I'll tell you off camera.
I can't. It's almost time for us to go to the jacuzzi.
It is almost. Should we wrap this thing up? We've been talking for like an hour.
One other thing I was going to say about dating, I think an adjustment for me in my 30s, at least my most recent and longest relationship, is that I thought I would only be happy with someone who had my same interests. Like they had to be a writer, reader, comedian. Like they had to be not a comedian, but like in the arts, you know? And it turns out what I require is someone who takes an interest in my life. And that when I talk about writing and reading, they're interested in what I say, not that it's necessarily their interest. In the same way that when my boyfriend talks about sports, I take an interest in the things that he's interested in. Because I always thought I would end up with someone I could like read passages of books to, and then they would be reading it to me. When in reality, what's most important is for me to tell the person what I'm stressed out about regarding books, and for them to listen and be empathetic and understanding.
That's a super helpful insight. on the back of me telling you that I told ChatGPT to find a version of me.
Yeah. And when I think about it, like to date a version of me, like a neurotic writer comedian, for me, what a nightmare. You know, I'm climbing the walls. I can't sleep. I'm scurrying around. And I think maybe what we actually need is I think I'm going on and off Lexapro every other week. Like you're a little bit more even keeled than me. But I could use someone a bit more even keeled than I am. Less neurotic, I think. And I think not that artists can't be unneurotic. I'm trying to get less neurotic, but it's nice to be with someone who's not the same way.
I love you.
I love you. And I love you.
Amy Silverberg. Please tell people where they can find the book.
My debut novel, First Time, Long Time, which was a W Magazine must read and Oprah Daily something, is available at all bookstores. And if this comes out before then,
yeah.
I have a book launch July 24th at Skylight Books, and the book comes out July 22nd.
I can't wait to read it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.